Let's say the truth that nobody dares to say out loud. The moment she feels too safe, she stops trying. It sounds harsh, but this is one of the rawest realities of modern relationships. When a woman knows you'll always be there no matter what, when she knows that no matter how she treats you, you'll still call, still text, still show up, her respect for you starts to shrink. Not because she's evil, not because she's playing games, but because certainty kills urgency, and urgency is what keeps desire alive. Most men are trained to believe that the more you give, the more you'll be loved. But real attraction doesn't work that way. It's not how much you care. It's how much she fears losing the version of you she hasn't fully figured out yet. This is where most guys go wrong. They try to be available, open, and consistent. They think that by constantly showing up, checking in, and reassuring her, she'll see them as reliable and irreplaceable. But in reality, that predictability makes you replaceable. That comfort tells her, you're not going anywhere. And once she knows you're not going anywhere, the game is over. Here's the secret they don't teach you. You don't need to chase her heart. You need to trigger her fear of losing yours. You don't need to manipulate. You don't need to fake confidence. You just need to master the art of holding back, not out of revenge, but out of value. Your presence should feel earned, not handed out on a silver platter. And when that balance shifts, when she feels like you could walk away if the energy is not mutual, that's when everything changes. In this video, I'll break down 10 powerful triggers that make a woman stop and think, wait, am I losing him? These aren't tricks, they're mindset shifts, and they work. Not because they're controlling, but because they awaken something primal inside her, the instinct that tells her, this man is not like the others, and I might lose him if I don't step up. Let's get into it. 1. Silence is more powerful than words. Silence is not weakness. Silence is control. And in a world where everyone is rushing to prove their point, defend themselves, or get the last word, a man who can stay silent speaks the loudest. Women are emotional beings. They live through communication. And when they say something, especially something sharp or emotionally charged, what they expect is a reaction. Most men fall into this trap. She gets upset, she complains, she throws a test, and the man immediately responds, explains, begs, or tries to fix it. That's emotional submission. And whether you see it or not, it drops your value instantly. Now imagine this. She sends a long message complaining about how you never prioritize her anymore. Instead of replying with a 2-paragraph essay trying to prove how loyal you are, you say nothing. No anger, no argument, just pure silence. Not because you're punishing her, but because you've reached a level where you don't engage every emotional wave she sends your way. That silence forces her to think. Did I go too far? Why didn't he respond? Is he losing interest? And in that moment of silence, she goes from feeling like she's in control to feeling uncertainty. And that uncertainty triggers the fear of loss. Most men overtalk. They think the more they explain, the more they fix. But with high-value men, less is more. You're not silent because you're scared. You're silent because your peace is valuable, and not everything deserves a reaction. This also works during conflict. If she tries to bait you into an argument, and you just calmly say, I'm not doing this, and walk away or go quiet, that's power. That silence says, I don't argue for attention. I don't perform for approval. She's not used to that. She's used to men who chase, explain, defend. So when you choose silence over begging, calm over reaction, it shakes her. And in that shake, the fear starts to grow. Bottom line? When your silence is stronger than her noise, she'll fear losing your attention more than you'll ever need to raise your voice. 2. Stop explaining yourself. The more you explain, the more power you give away. Men who constantly feel the need to explain themselves end up sounding guilty, even when they've done nothing wrong. And when a woman senses that you're desperate to be understood or validated, she automatically places herself above you, even if she doesn't say it. Let's make this clear. You are not on trial. You don't owe anyone an emotional breakdown of every decision you make. If you decide to take space, take time for yourself, hang out with your friends, or not reply to a text immediately, you don't need to write a paragraph explaining why. That's not leadership. That's approval seeking. And approval seeking is a killer of attraction. Now here's where it gets real. A woman will sometimes test your confidence by questioning your choices. Why didn't you call me last night? Why didn't you post me on your story? Why are you acting so distant? And most men fall into the trap of explaining everything just to smooth things over. But when you explain too much, it shows her that you're more concerned with her comfort than your own truth. That's not strength. That's insecurity dressed up as communication. A strong man gives short, grounded answers. He sets a boundary, gives direction, or simply says, "That's just how I felt," and leaves it there. No need to justify. No need to beg for her understanding. You don't need to be rude or cold, but you do need to be centered. If she senses that you only feel okay when she agrees with you, she loses respect. On the other hand, if you can hold your ground without over-explaining, she starts to see you as someone who moves from inner confidence, not outside permission. Here's the shift. Stop trying to get her to see things your way. Start showing her that your way exists, with or without her approval. Because when she sees that you're not seeking permission, not trying to make her okay with everything, she'll feel that fear rise inside. The fear that you're no longer the predictable, easy to manage man she thought you were. And that fear? That's what brings the respect back. 3. Be willing to walk away. Nothing shakes a woman more than realizing the man she thought she had is ready to leave if things don't feel right. Not because he's bitter, not because he's heartless, but because he knows his value and refuses to stay where he's not respected. Most men stay too long in situations where their worth is being questioned. They tolerate being ignored. They tolerate disrespect. They tolerate mixed signals. Why? Because they're afraid. Afraid that if they walk away, they'll lose her forever. But here's the truth. If staying is costing you your peace, your confidence, and your self-respect, then what are you actually keeping? A man who is truly confident knows he's not defined by who stays in his life. He understands that sometimes walking away is not a loss. It's a statement. It tells the world, I refuse to beg for love. I refuse to fight for basic respect. I don't chase what doesn't recognize my worth. The moment a woman senses that you're too afraid to lose her, she holds the power. She knows you'll tolerate anything just to keep the connection alive. And from that moment, your value starts dropping in her eyes, fast. She doesn't fear losing you because she knows you'll never leave. But when she starts to sense that you could leave, that you're actually willing to walk away if things don't feel right, that's when her behavior starts shifting. That's when she starts chasing. That's when she starts thinking. Because now the balance has changed. Being willing to walk away doesn't mean you're emotionally cold. It doesn't mean you're closed off. It means your dignity is non-negotiable. It means love is something you give, not something you beg for. And the minute you show her that, she'll either rise to meet your value or get left behind. You don't need to threaten. You don't need to argue. You just need to live by one simple rule. If it's not mutual, it's not worth it. And the moment you fully believe that, she will too. Because when she knows you're not afraid to walk away, she starts fearing the day you actually do. 4. Don't reply immediately. Men, let's be honest, you're too available. And that's exactly why you're being taken for granted. Every time your phone buzzes, you rush to reply. You drop what you're doing. You pause your own life just to make sure she knows you're there. And you think this makes you look loyal, caring, attentive. But what it really does, it makes you look too eager, too ready, too easy. Here's what you need to understand. Respect isn't given to men who are always accessible. Respect is given to men who create space. Men who are focused. Men who are not waiting on the next message like a dog waiting for a treat. It's not about playing games. It's about energy. When she feels like you're just sitting there waiting for her to text, that energy is desperate. That energy kills attraction. She feels it. And it changes the way she sees you. even if she doesn't say it out loud. Most men don't realize how much they're sabotaging their own value by being too quick to respond. You're teaching her that you have nothing going on, that she's your entire world, that her presence, her attention, her messages are more important than your mission, your schedule, your purpose. And let's be real, you didn't become a man just to orbit around someone else's mood. If you truly want her to value you, you need to value your own time first. That means stop being glued to your phone. Stop feeling guilty for not replying instantly. Stop treating every hey like it's a royal invitation. Take your time. Let her feel a little silence. Let her wonder what you're up to. This doesn't make you rude. It makes you centered. It shows that your life isn't on pause waiting for her. It shows that you have structure, routine, and confidence. And guess what? That's exactly what makes her fear losing you. So stop acting like your phone is your lifeline. Start acting like your time is expensive, because the man who replies too fast loses more than her respect. He loses his mystery. And without mystery, there is no tension. And without tension, there's nothing for her to chase. 5. Let her feel your absence. Here's one brutal truth most men don't want to hear. You're too present to be desired. If she never has to wonder where you are, what you're thinking, or who you're becoming, she won't feel that edge, that uncertainty, that tension. And without that emotional tension, attraction dies quietly. Not with a breakup, but with boredom. You've been taught that being consistent means being constantly available. That love means always showing up, always being around, always checking in. But too much presence creates emotional saturation. It's like perfume. Use it just right and it's irresistible. Drown her in it and it becomes too much. Men who understand their value don't fear being missed. They let space do the talking. They let their absence create depth. Because distance is where reflection happens. When you're gone, she starts remembering what she felt when you were around. The tone of your voice, the strength in your silence, the way you made her feel something real, something rare. But if you're always there, there's nothing to remember. No space to reflect, no time to crave. Let's be clear, disappearing isn't the goal. The goal is presence with purpose. When you're there, be all in. But when you're not, be unapologetically focused on yourself. Stop checking in out of habit. Stop forcing moments. Just live, work, grow, create. And in that space, you're building something far more powerful than attention. You're building emotional gravity. She can't miss what never leaves. She can't crave what's always on her screen. But when your presence starts to feel earned, when it becomes something she has to work a little to access, that's when her mind starts running wild. Is he okay? Is he seeing someone? Is he losing interest? And once those thoughts start creeping in, her energy shifts. She becomes alert, invested, curious, because you've broken the pattern. You've created a gap, and in that gap, desire grows. So stop flooding her world. Start mastering your own. And let your absence do what your words never could. Remind her that she's not entitled to you. Because the fear of losing a man who's building something bigger than her is stronger than any good morning text you could ever send. 6. Raise your standards. Without warning, a man who suddenly upgrades his life, without needing permission or applause, shakes everything around him, especially her. Here's what most men get wrong. They think being good to a woman means lowering their expectations, tolerating bad habits, or constantly adjusting just to keep the peace. And while that might avoid arguments in the short term, it slowly destroys your value. Because when your standards are flexible, you become predictable, weak, easy to mold. Women don't crave men who bend for everything. They crave men who elevate without explanation. Raising your standards doesn't mean acting better than her. It means showing that you're no longer available for low-effort energy, that you don't entertain immaturity, disrespect, emotional manipulation, or hot and cold behavior, that you've grown past cheap attention, shallow conversations, and empty flattery. And here's the part that really triggers fear. You do it without saying a word. You don't announce it. You don't argue about it. You don't sit her down and give a lecture. You just move different. You upgrade your habits. You stop responding to certain behaviors. You pull back from people who drain you. You start treating your time like gold. She notices. She may not say anything immediately, but she notices. She'll sense the shift. You're not as available. You don't react the same way. You're not playing by the old rules anymore. And that scares her. Why? Because you're evolving without her leading the change. And that means she's at risk of being left behind. This is where attraction flips. Suddenly, she's the one adjusting. She's the one trying to figure out how to match your energy. Because now, your love isn't cheap. Your time isn't free. Your attention is earned, not handed out like candy. If she feels like she already has you, she won't value you. But if she feels like she could lose you to a higher version of yourself, one that doesn't settle for less, that's when the fear kicks in. So stop warning people about your growth. Let them feel it. Raise your standards silently and watch how the energy shifts. Because once she realizes that you've outgrown her games, her excuses, and her comfort zone, she'll either rise or get replaced by someone who will. 7. Don't make her your priority. This one hits deep. The moment she becomes your number one, you stop being hers. Most men think that putting a woman first will make her feel special, loyal, and more connected. But what it actually does is remove the very thing that attracted her to you in the first place. Your drive, your direction, your sense of purpose. Women are drawn to men who are going somewhere. Men with goals, structure, boundaries, and momentum. Not men whose entire lives revolve around a relationship. The sad part? Too many guys don't realize they've sacrificed their identity just to make her happy. They cancel plans. They stop grinding. They lose focus. And slowly, they become the emotional butler, always available, always trying to fix things, always trying to keep her comfortable. That's not strength, that's submission, and she can feel it. When your world revolves around her, she starts pulling away. Not because she's heartless, but because the masculine energy she was attracted to is now gone. There's no tension, no edge, no spark. You've made her the mission, and that's never what she wanted. A real woman doesn't want to be your purpose. She wants to be part of a man who already has one. She wants to feel like she's joining a life that's already full, already moving, already built on something solid. And if she feels like she's the only thing that matters to you, that pressure becomes a burden, not a compliment. You've got to stay centered, your gym, your work, your mindset, your goals. These things come first, not because you don't care about her, but because you care about yourself. And when you respect your own journey, she will too. Now here's where the fear kicks in. When she realizes you're not putting her on a pedestal, when she sees that your life goes on with or without her, she starts wondering what she needs to do to stay in it. That's where respect is born. That's where the chase begins. Not when she's your whole world, but when she's invited into a world that doesn't depend on her. So stop making her the prize. Be the prize. And watch how fast she starts treating you like one. 8. Act unbothered by her drama. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Your reaction is her power. If she can push your buttons, control your emotions, and get you to break character every time she stirs the pot, then she owns you. Not because she's evil, but because you've shown her that your emotional balance depends on her behavior. Most men get triggered easily. A little attitude from her, and they start explaining. A passive-aggressive comment, and they're already trying to defend themselves. She pulls away a bit, and they panic. This kind of emotional neediness is a sign that you've lost control, and trust me, she feels it. Women will test you, sometimes directly, sometimes subtly. They'll say something sharp just to see if you fold. They'll go cold to see if you chase. They'll bring drama just to see if you can handle the heat. And the men who fail are the ones who treat every mood swing like a crisis. But the man who remains calm, the one who keeps his tone steady, his energy solid, and his presence unmoved, that man becomes a mystery. He becomes magnetic. Because now she's thinking, why didn't that get to him? Is he losing interest? Is he stronger than I thought? You don't need to argue. You don't need to match her mood. You don't need to prove your point. You just need to hold your frame. And when she sees that her emotional storms don't shake you, she starts respecting you more than she ever has. It's not about being heartless. It's about knowing that you're not here to compete with chaos. You're not a man who gets dragged into every emotional game. You lead. You set the tone. You choose peace over panic. And when she realizes that she can't control you with emotional noise, she fears losing you to the very peace she keeps disturbing. So stop reacting. Start observing. Let her moods come and go like weather. Stay grounded. Stay calm. Stay focused. Because a man who doesn't flinch in the face of drama is a man she never wants to lose. 9. Be hard to read, not predictable. If she can predict your every move, she will eventually stop caring about them. Men think consistency means doing the same thing every day. Same compliments, same calls, same responses, same routines. But here's the harsh truth. Predictability kills excitement. And when excitement dies, attraction fades with it. You don't need to become distant or cold, but you do need to stop being emotionally transparent all the time. When she knows exactly how you'll react, how you'll respond, and how you'll behave in every situation, there's no tension, no curiosity, no challenge. And let's not forget, women are drawn to emotional mystery. They want to feel like there's still something left to figure out, something unexplored, something that keeps them slightly unsure, not in a toxic way, but in a powerful, masculine way. A man who is hard to read holds emotional power. He doesn't always say what he's thinking. He doesn't reveal every feeling. He doesn't let her decode his entire soul in a week. He creates room for curiosity, for questions, for her mind to wonder what's going on in his head. And the more she wonders, the more invested she becomes. This isn't about playing games. It's about understanding the balance between showing interest and keeping your emotional independence. You can be warm without being overly expressive. You can care without giving your entire emotional map away. Too many men overshare. They spill everything too soon. Insecurities, fears, thoughts, daily details, hoping it builds a deeper bond. But often it does the opposite. It removes the emotional edge. It tells her, you already know everything. There's nothing left to chase. So slow it down. Speak less. Let her lean in. Let her ask. Let her observe. And when she starts chasing clarity, starts trying to figure you out, you've just created one of the most powerful fears in her mind. The fear of not fully knowing you and losing you before she ever gets the chance to. Mystery builds interest, and interest builds fear of loss. Be the man who leaves just enough unanswered, not because you're hiding something, but because you're living in a way that doesn't need to be explained. 10. Show growth without her. In it. Nothing triggers a woman's fear of loss more than seeing you evolve and realizing she's no longer part of the picture. Most men make the mistake of tying their self-improvement to the woman they're dating. They only level up if she supports them. They only chase goals when she's clapping for them. And that's why, the moment things get rocky, everything else falls apart too. But here's the reality. Your growth should never depend on her presence. When a woman sees that you're becoming sharper, stronger, more focused, without her needing to motivate you, she feels a shift. She starts questioning where she stands. She realizes that your evolution isn't fueled by her attention, and that scares her. Because now, she's no longer the center of your progress. She's not the reason you're doing better. She's not in control of what drives you. You've become independent, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. You're building a version of yourself that doesn't need approval, doesn't seek permission, and doesn't rely on anyone to move forward. That kind of man is rare. That kind of man is dangerous, because he's not afraid to outgrow people. And when she sees that she's no longer the one you're improving for, it forces her to confront something powerful, the possibility that she could be left behind. So level up, quietly, consistently, not to prove anything, not to win her back, but because it's who you are. Because once she sees the man you're becoming and realizes that growth is happening, with or without her, that's when the fear becomes real. Here's the hard truth. A woman doesn't truly fear losing you until she sees that you're perfectly fine without her. That's the moment everything changes. Not when you beg, not when you chase, but when you grow so much that her absence no longer affects your direction. That's when she starts chasing. I want to hear your thoughts. Have you ever experienced this shift in your own life? Drop a comment below. I'll be reading through them and personally responding. Let's talk. Let's connect. Let's grow stronger together.